hooker with a heart of gold, prairie nymphs, soiled doves, sporting women, whores.
Prairie nymphs is very cute.
You're listening to The Oldest Profession. My name is Kaytlin Bailey. I worked as an hourly escort when I was in high school for no good goddamn reason. I was just super curious. And then when I needed money for the first time, I got into sugaring because I'm not stupid.
I'm Wendi Starling. I started selling my panties on the internet when I was 34. Then from there, made the very smart leap to sugaring at the ripe old age of close to 35. So I do that to help support comedy.
So every week on The Oldest Profession, I am going to tell a story about an old hoe that came before us because it's the oldest profession, so it's got to have a history, right? And all these bitches have really cool stories. So I'll be telling a story from a sex worker, whore, lady of the night, woman of ill repute, whatever you want to fucking call it, that came before us.
And you are listening to The Oldest Profession.
To The Oldest Profession.
You got to keep things spicy.
What's finger licking good? I mean, come on. Obviously, The Oldest Profession
has a history. Shit off.
Get right into it.
We got our coffee cleaned up. You didn't just break your ankle. We're killing
everything's fine. We're the best.
We're killing it.
It's all happening.
Ugh. Oh my God. So you were saying right before we turned the recorders on, right before you almost fell, you said you called your senators?
I did. I called my senators. Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand.
Okay.
Yeah. And I called them and I told them to vote no on SESTA. And I left 2 messages with 2 very nice young men who seemed fine to be taking notes. So if you don't know how you can actually, you should just Google like how to call your senators. But there's a hotline that you can call, and then you just tell them what state you live in, and then the hotline connects you to your senator, and you can tell them whatever you want. You should tell them to vote no on SESTA, which is supposedly coming to a vote March 12th. But shit in the legislature changes all the time. Because we have a shitty system.
Well, okay. So now, first of all, there is a link at the bottom of the show notes in the episode description to that hotline.
Yeah. Yes.
If you are listening to this, that means it's out, and that means there's a link. Thank you, Mary. This is the part of the show where we're like, I don't do any work, but I just say things, and I hope she's listening.
And Mary does that. Mary's great.
Mary,
Shout out
you're
to
the
Mary.
best. We love you. Mary's in LA. So what's happening? So I haven't seen you since. So first of all, SESTA, explain to those of us, and I'm including myself in this group, who might not know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, well, SESTA is a perfect example of the conservative fetish for punishing uppity whores, meeting the liberal instinct to help a population that they can't be bothered to understand, to result in a really bad bill that hurts the people it pretends to help. Right?
So SESTA is an acronym.
SESTA is an acronym.
I thought you were
mispronouncing
the Spanish term for nap. I was like, no. I vote yes on a siesta.
Yeah, no. Siesta is always a good idea. SESTA, bad idea.
Okay.
Siesta, yes. SESTA, no. It stands for Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act. Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act. And what it does is it makes platforms criminally liable for what their users post on them. So it used to be if you were an individual that was trafficking children, for example, and you posted an ad on Backpage, for example, then the government would be like, bad individual, but Backpage is protected by the First Amendment, exercising their freedom of speech to provide a platform for people to just post whatever they want. Freedom of expression on the internet, right?
Right.
Now they're going to make, Backpage is already killed, but platforms like it legally liable for what their users post on it in the name of helping trafficking victims, except that every organization that actually helps trafficking victims is saying that this is going to hurt the very people that they're pretending to help, because it criminalizes posting bad John's list, bad date lists. It punishes people for trafficking, which if you're a listener of this podcast, you already know people have been prosecuted for trafficking themselves. It basically just means helping, supporting, promoting anything prostitution related. So it can criminalize so much. I sort of want to read the actual language.
So it can criminalize, selling panties on Craigslist. That's not a person. That's okay, right?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I think that might go into supporting supporting prostitution, just because it they might pretend it's that selling panties is a gateway to prostitution, right?
Yeah, because they could say, because when I can remember when I was selling panties, I would have guys, because I was just selling panties, but I would have guys, and you get there before the meet for the panties, and they'd be like, I got $300 on me and I want to fuck. And I'm like, good for you.
Right. That's
I'm
not what
selling
this
you
is.
these panties for $50 because I'm on a 15-minute break from the job where I'm stealing these panties. So you are out of luck, Buster. Great.
Oh, man.
But so I know that they could see that, like, oh, that's a cover. That's a cover for sex work.
Yeah, absolutely. So it says, so the big deal is that this bill amends the federal criminal code to specify that all of this shit is written in like willful legalese. They like don't want you to really know what's happening. So
They want you to get bored halfway through, which is what I would do. And then you
Right.
go, wait, so this is just about, so wait, you're talking about selling 10-year-olds out of the back of a van? Yes, that's what we mean. Well,
Yes.
then I vote to stop it.
So it outlaws any activity that knowingly assists, supports, or facilitates prostitution. So by a liberal reading of that law, that would be us. We support
Right.
prostitution emotionally,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You know, we have some general advice. So it would outlaw any website that you can go to where you have like an FAQ section where you can post your ads, which allow you to screen your clients. It would outlaw most organizing efforts that sex workers are involved in to keep themselves and each other safe, pushing everything from like adult sex work all the way down to violent child trafficking, which does exist, right? Pushes it all further underground, makes it harder to establish who's doing what. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. The best line of defense that people who are being trafficked against their will have are adult sex workers choosing to participate in the industry because they're on the ground. They can make they can see what's happening and they can help people out.
Correct.
And usually helping someone out doesn't involve smuggling them by the dead of night in a suitcase. It usually means like finding them a job and getting them out of an abusive situation,
right,
which is boring and hard and long term and not what the government wants to do. They just want to throw uppity whores in jail, and the liberals are willing to look the other way because it has the language of helping victims that they can't be bothered to listen to.
Right.
This shit pisses me
off.
off.
That's like a perfect. This is the same shit as like with the Contagious Diseases Act,
This is exactly the same thing.
But now they have the internet.
Yeah.
And now they have all this stuff, so it's the same. You've got the people just trying to throw bitches in jail,
right?
And then the women's rights activists from
want to help throw women in hospitals that look a lot like jails,
right? It's the same, and now they're coming together, and it's crazy. So you're gonna shut down Craigslist? Mm-hmm. So Craigslist would be shut down.
Yeah, that's the theory. Or they could be held criminally liable, or people could sue them.
Right.
So it opens up. It basically, the federal government knows that it can't suppress people's freedom of speech because of the pesky First Amendment that we have, right? And how people feel about it.
Right.
But what they can do is they can empower private corporations, or they can make the liability constraints so onerous on private corporations that things like Facebook, Twitter, Craigslist, these are all private. Google, these are all private companies.
Right.
The federal government is going to force them to infringe on everyone's First Amendment because private companies can do that because they don't have the protections of the federal government, right? Just like a club can tell you not to say cunt on their stage if they want to. They shouldn't, but they can because it's their fucking house.
And I'm going to say it the first thing I walk on just to prove a point.
Fuck them if they can't take a joke, right?
Only if they give me my check first. It depends on when I get paid.
Yeah. If you don't want comics saying what they want, you should pay them after the show. That's
absolutely.
Dem's the rule.
What do you want me to do? You want to just riff on the artwork you have? Great, perfect. I'll do 25 minutes on chicken nachos.
Right. I've seen her do. You're amazing.
It's mostly me eating chicken nachos and then 23 minutes of me on the toilet after the chicken nachos. But it's still, I can riff.
It's gonna be So because of that, right? So like, for example, Facebook's banning all of these bitches for saying that like men are scum. Right?
I know.
Yeah. Same thing. If you're just like, hey, maybe sex work is work. Banned promoting prostitution.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Like, it's very easy for me to imagine a future where sex worker rights activists are violently suppressed because it's happened so many times before.
Right.
We've seen it. CDC is a really great example. What the Nazis did is another really good example. Mm-hmm. The U.S. did this. It's over and over and over again. We see this kind of impulse. And it pisses me off that in Trump's America, this is going to be the thing that has bipartisan support.
I know.
Right?
Of everything. Yeah. And we've talked about this before in other episodes, and I know for sure we've talked about it off the show.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is that like the Tea Party and like, you know, like the libertarians, that they're not behind sex workers because what sex workers are doing, they're independent business owners.
Yeah.
They're going outside of the system. That's should be in theory, theoretically, if you're looking at that, should be along the same lines of, if I want a gun, I can have a gun. God damn it.
It's so funny. If you want to support just straight up sex work, libertarianism is your thing. If you want to end trafficking, socialism is your thing, right? Because the best way to prevent people from being coerced or forced into work they don't want to do for money is to take away the urgent money needs, right? You want to end trafficking? Give everyone secure housing. Right. You want to end trafficking? Provide a minimum basic wage. You want to end trafficking? Stop discriminating against trans people, black people. Like, stop forcing people into the underground economy.
Right.
Right? So but you're right. The libertarian argument of like individual liberty is also a reason to support sex workers.
Right. But the puritanical thing that's in the back of it. But yeah, exactly. So the real solution is, but that's the same as like, you know, going to any shitty, terrible job.
Yeah.
Do you want to, you know, like someone going, even like we've talked about this with the cruise ships, going to work on a cruise ship where you go and you're working in the hull of a ship 18 hours a day and, you know, and you're getting raped to try to get a better.
Yeah. There's exploitation everywhere. It's not unique to the sex trade. I mean, you want to end trafficking. The real thing to look at is domestic labor. Yeah. Right? You know, people like, we have real slaves in this country. They're mostly cleaning rich people's houses.
Yeah. Or doing rich people's nails. The nail salon people.
Oh,
and I know,
my God.
and we've talked about this before on the show, but you want to talk about indentured servitude?
Yes. Those
women, when I go, I feel so badly because you can see they barely speak the language and you can tell they were brought in and you can tell they're not working for money to take home. I believe that they're probably living with too many people in a small house.
Yep.
Or small apartment. And they were probably brought over here. And I just, not to be like, whatever, but having grown up in Southern California, I know people who were brought over by coyotes.
Yeah.
A coyote, if you don't know, is a term for someone who like smuggles someone across the border.
Right.
In the dark of the night.
And we think of smugglers as being these like violent, evil people, but a lot of them are just like a dude with a van and a heart that are like, hey, do you want to not die in the desert? I can help you do that.
Right. I'll bring you over here.
Yeah.
And then so sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're good guys. Sometimes they're bad guys who are like, I'll bring you over. And it costs as much money.
The more repression there is, the more government surveillance there is, the worse those dudes are. Right. Because just a dude with a van and a heart is not going to risk him and his whole family getting shot by like ICE or whatever, but people that smuggle are gonna keep smuggling. But like the more you repress something, the more underground it goes, the more violent, the worse it gets.
Yep. Because like you said, you're not gonna risk going to jail or getting shot at by your friend. But if you're like, okay, I'm going to make 50 grand off of this one pull across the border. And not only am I going to make money from these people, but they won't be able to pay all of it.
Yeah.
So then I'll be like, okay, you can work off your debt by working in this nail salon, or you can work. That's literally indentured servitude.
Yes.
And there are like, not just documentaries, but like I know from in real time listening to and talking with people that work in nail salons and on cruise ships. And it's like, that's a real thing that's happening. But that's the more underground it goes, the more you just have bad guys. And it's so scary. So like those industries, that's terrible. And you got to touch feet. Gross. I got to tell you, I've never touched a foot if I didn't want to touch a foot. I feel worse. I would rather lick some dude's asshole than, touch my own feet. You know
No. I hear that 1,000%. And it's like, and the other thing that gets misrepresented about sex work is that sex work is often a way out of an otherwise impossible exploitation situation, right? So like the Women's Empowerment Center here, which I think used to be like the Asian Women of New York's center. I went to they had a seminar about like consent and trafficking within the Asian community. And so a lot of the case studies that we were looking at are women, especially older women, who were being trafficked by their own fucking family because they were like given housing for free. And so they were forced to work in the like family restaurant for $0.
Right.
Right? Like endless 12 hours, 6-7 day a week shifts.
That's crazy.
Right. And so sex work was a way for them to like get their own money and possibly work towards a future where they can get out. There was another trend that scared the shit out of me, where people were bringing over their like Korean, Chinese, Japanese like parents to come over and take care of their children. And then because they're like in Eastern cultures, there's more intergenerational interdependency that is like solidified into the culture, whereas like America is a more individualistic dog eat dog like capitalist society.
Right.
And so they would take their parents, their elderly parents, out of that like cooperative context in the US, and then they would like cook for them, clean for them, watch their kids, and then then they would just move and like abandon their elderly parents. I mean, like, I'm sure Americans do that to their own parents too.
Right.
But that like juxtaposition of like, no, the rules are
right.
Like we're supposed to take care of each other. And in this dog eat dog capitalism, the fucking thing, it gets harder and harder to do that. So part of me is like, you monsters, you abandoned your elderly parents. And then the other part of me is like, yeah, but how are you supposed to support 6 people on $9.99 an hour?
Right.
Like how, you know what I mean? Like
right.
how
it can't be done. Right.
Right. Maybe you're making a shitty choice because you're in an impossible situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. And it's even with, and not to, but it's crazy that this is happening, that this bill is happening in real time.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw Jack the stripper, who's great. Follow her on all social media.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I saw she posted about like the stuff and like,
yep.
And I guess when the bill, this must have been the SESTA bill.
The FOSTA bill passed the House like 300 something to 25. There was once a time in my life when I was like a young activist where I like just could rattle off like the number of people in the House, what different what states had different representation. That I forgot all that math. But there were only 25 votes against this bill, and it passed like an overwhelming majority. It has more than 60 sponsors in the fucking Senate. It's banana pants popular. And it's such a dumb idea. That's only going to hurt people.
It's a dumb idea. And you know what is triply fuck? And you know it's so transparent about this too. What's so fucking transparent is that the people voting like to pass this bill against this are the people that patronize sex workers probably the fucking most.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hey, legislators, ask the whore you're paying whether or not she thinks this is a good idea, you dumb cuck.
Yeah. It's like, honestly, it's the same thing as like when you look, and it's not just but it's usually Republicans, but it's like Republican politicians who are so anti-gay, and they're anti-gay, and then you find out they're the ones sucking dicks in bathrooms.
Yeah,
okay?
of course. Absolutely.
Because it's the Shakespearean thing, like thou doth protest
That's
too
much.
loudly, methinks. Like,
right.
It's, right? Oh, I remember that because that was one of my favorite things. Anytime someone was like over the top and I was like,
yeah, Lady Macbeth knew some shit.
yeah, I'm like, I'm going to call bullshit real hard on this, you know? When I was having an eating disorder, when I was like super like like not eat, like very anorexic, and then when I did I throw up, all I did was talk about how much I ate right before I went to the dinner party. So like I was super full of shit.
Yeah, of course.
So you know,
but not literal shit. You need food for that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I was full of metaphorical shit.
Metaphorical shit.
But like anytime, you know, but that's human behavior.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's like such a classic theme in literature that it's so transparent. It's the Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart.
Yeah.
You do something wrong, and it's like nope.
Right? You can't let go of it.
You can't let go of it. And that's why these people are like, yeah, pass this, whatever. And that's like, see, my wife, I'm not paying a prostitute.
No,
I don't have a girlfriend that I pay. I don't see escorts. How could I if I'm voting for this bill to get passed through?
But it's also so much bigger than that, right? So it's like absolutely the sexual thing of like, you know, trying to like suppression and all of that shit. And it's also deeply like, it's like colonialism in its way. This idea of like, these poor savages don't know how to protect themselves. I know. We will pass helpful legislation, tearing them apart from their families and forcing them into these boarding schools to teach them the Lord's work and pull their fingernails out when they give us any lip. It's like that same kind of impulse of like, so it's like, you know, anyone in the legislature, I think we need more women there for sure, but it's all pretty much like rich white people with a few exceptions, right? It's definitely rich people. And so they're like, oh, I know what would be better is if you stopped selling pussy. I'm like, bitch, you don't know my life. You don't know what my other options are. You don't know what kind of resources this fills up. You don't know that this work enables me to have a relationship with my child. You don't know that this work enables me to take care of my mother with cancer. You don't know what this does or doesn't do. Like, and this, I know in my ideal fantasy version of how life should work, you should do this and you should do that. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that was a conversation that we had. So I just came back from SASS in Seattle, which stands for, hold on, I have it on a button somewhere. It's the Seattle Annual Sex Work Symposium.
Oh, I thought it stands for Seattle Ass. Like,
Yeah,
no,
right.
it wasn't very creative.
Yeah, Seattle Ass. I think that's
Yeah,
way
Seattle
better.
Ass.
That's right. Although I love the word symposium, I think Seattle Ass is probably is a great name.
Yeah.
So Seattle at the Desiree Alliance. This is real inside baseball in terms of sex worker activism, but with laws like the SESTA bill rapidly passing through the Senate, like sex workers need to get organized and start fighting against this shit, or we're looking at a real crazy banana pants dystopian future, right?
Right.
'Cause, like these legislators are only going to work to limit freedom of expression and freedom of movement for uppity whores. That's the future we're looking at.
Yeah.
And so sex workers are gathering together and having a lot of hard conversations about what the future looks like, because we don't want to make the same mistakes that labor movements and feminist movements have made before us, which is mostly divided along racial and class lines.
Yeah.
So we've got to look towards like an intersectional future where we're looking out for everyone, where like we as like obviously privileged cisgendered white bitches,
Right. Doing a podcast about when we used to do it.
yeah, right. Well, it's illegal shit. Can't speak for everyone, right?
Correct.
We can't be passive. We can't be forming organizations or like gathering together without a diversity of experiences and viewpoints, because we can't see what we can't see. Like, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
We don't
Sometimes I
wanna-
can barely speak for myself. Do you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah.
You should feel a little tired.
Reasonable.
Sometimes I can barely remember what the fuck I did the last couple of days. But yeah, for sure. That's a big thing. And and we've talked about it on the show, you and I, and we're bringing guests in and things like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to start doing that, because we're going to still do the stories about historical sex workers and that. But we also are in a time right now, presently, where history is repeating itself in a scary way.
In a really scary way.
And so this is a good hub for us to be talking about these issues now. And it's perfect because we can go back and say, oh, look how this played out in past times they've tried to do this.
Right.
And so we got to learn from history and go, okay, so now what can we do better?
Right. What can we do better? Absolutely.
And, so as far as like bringing guests in and people from all different viewpoints, because that's super important. And that makes, well, you were talking about, that was the thing with the stripper strike. And that was where they would bring white bitches in to come in and be like star bartenders or like star tenders. And I hate that. That's one of the few things that stuck in my brain from the show.
Star tenders.
There's so much information, so much good information. And I'm like, star tenders, these fucking YouTube people. But yeah, it was white bitches.
They do it to take the knees out from strippers' ability to organize, right? And like, because when you remove the like white cisgendered, like the privileged people, right, that could be seen and heard, right, from like, so it's not like a we're all in this together thing, but it's like the star tender versus stripper, where they're using whorephobia to like divide those things. I mean, you can imagine, right? Some dumb 22-year-old cunt. I'm not a stripper. I'm a star tender, and it's like, nah, bitch, what you are is a scab. It's like,
right. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep. You're a scab. And it's like, and it's so gross. And we
see that with the seeking arrangement sugar babies.
Yep.
That is absolutely a narrative.
Oh yeah. With the sugar babies. And that's something too. And I find myself when I'm talking about it with the sugaring, and it's a strange. And when I talk about my experience with that, I always am clarify. So I was never like an hour late where I'm like sitting in a room as an hourly escort. Right. And I don't say that in a way to be like, I don't mean it's like a shitty, like, I'm better than that, but it's like, no, that's a different experience.
It is a different experience.
It's a very different experience. And so as far as like the rest and recovery time emotionally, but I've never done.
I was talking.
But so many people think they're fucking above. They're on SA.
Yes.
And they do the sugar baby thing and they think they're above it, which, and I don't know if we're going to do it. We can maybe get into this episode, but I had an ongoing thing with a dude and now it's done. Okay. And I was not, we were not even sleeping together, but it was someone that I used to date. And he was extending,
he wanted to support you.
He was extending the gift of Uber to me.
Yeah,
but this bitch met him and I say this as a joke only because as a comedian, I think the word hooker is a funny word. It's a funnier sounding
I
word.
love hooker.
I love it. And I refer to SA as the hooker website. Oh my God, this girl, shit, I'm forgetting your name and I'm so sorry. She came out to Glamour Puss. And I'll repost her on Instagram, but she was really great. She came up, she's sweet. She goes, oh my God, I listen to all your podcasts. And I was like, oh, that means too many. And I go, oh, She goes, I listen to Jammers. And I go, cool. And she goes, and the hooker one? And she goes, yep. So I was like, so I have Jammers and then I love this. I go, oh, the hooker show? But this chick met him on the hooker website. She met him on SA.
Yeah.
Now, there is a difference.
She thinks that she's...
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Just because you're offering GFE doesn't mean that you're a real girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. And when she like moved in, and so then she moved herself in and she's like on track to like where she's going to probably be like, she wants to like marry him.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, so now what you're doing is the opposite of being a sugar. What you're doing is actually like emotionally manipulating a person.
Yes.
Into, you moved in and he, I got
a lot of warmth in my heart for gold diggers. I really do.
Right.
I mean, women have been topping from the bottom for so fucking long. We've been trying to carve out space for our own fucking needs of like, I got a lot like this Stormy Daniels thing.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing I don't love about this story. I'm just old pro.
Right. Now,
period.
I would have no problem with this bitch. Here's my problem with this bitch.
She's getting in your shit.
And she's getting into my shit.
Yeah.
She met him on this thing under the pretense of I'm into poly. This is my other girlfriend, Wendi. And she was like, great. Everything's great. And then as soon as she like, then she moved in with him and she was the main bitch. As soon as then she was like, you know what? It's not great. She told him, you can go on arrows, you can do whatever, but you can't see Wendi because you're emotionally involved with her. You guys like each other. Like you actually care about each other.
Oh, yeah.
So there was this underground. We had to lie about it.
Just
and it was
making up new rules.
Right. And so she was like, okay, because he just is a cool guy and he's busy. And he's like, okay, whatever. But he's just like, well, I'll just get a new credit card. And then apparently she like fucking saw that. And I mean,
oof. So what happened?
So Uber is, I took the train today and it was for the
Oh God. That's happened to me a couple of times. Like when I was, I've had,
but I want to say good for her for like being with him, but stay out of my shit, lady.
Yeah. That's like, you can't take work away from other comics no matter what they
she just got mad. And it's like, but in her mind, she's just like, I can't believe you're supporting that, like that whore,
I am different from.
It's like no, bitch.
It's that same beating heart under the floorboards thing. Like she's haunted by her own shit, can't face up to it. That is most problems in the world, I think, is people just being unable to sit with themselves.
Yeah.
And like really face like who the fuck we are.
Yep.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fine. Like, and it's, I think it's going to all work out fine in the end. And the other thing too, is you get used to this privileged lifestyle of, and it's
hard
insane.
To go backwards. Yeah.
It was between like $3,500, like around $3,500 average a month.
What's so infuriating about that is like, you have access to $3,500 worth of resources in the form of Uber Eats, Equinox or like whatever, gym stuff.
Right.
But
I just start crying thinking about all the stuff I used to have.
But you don't have the financial independence to just decide how you spend $3,500, which could secure you housing in a place where you don't have to take such expensive car services because you don't have to go over a bridge. You don't have to go way the fuck outside of all context. Right. You could make choices about that sort of shit. And so it's like a weird kind of financial it's a weird kind of financial dependence that ends up being more like golden handcuffs and less like freedom to do and say and be who you want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a strange thing too, because part of me and part of the conversation that we had is because he was like, I don't want to just give you money because they feel like that, and he said I feel like that's like disrespectful or whatever. But I remember being like, that's not
right. It's not disrespectful. It's an acknowledgement that maybe I'm not like your kid that's gonna. Dude.
Right. But so it was a crazy, and so it's fine. Like, it's okay, but it is a weird to go from that bump in status. Like, and you want to talk about like, if you're going to like, oh, I'm going to like quit drinking. Like, cause I'll do like where you take breaks from booze, you go on benders, and you're like, all right, I'm no drugs, no alcohol. I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes. That's all difficult. Mm-hmm. I'm not even exaggerating, dude. The withdrawal from being like, I have to walk to the train is crazy. I normally for the last year and 2 months since December of last year.
Yeah.
I would be anywhere I was going. I would just get on my phone, boom, order a car.
Yeah.
And just order a car. And so it's like, it's such a strange feeling to be like.
It's a really fucked up, not metric or like things like there's no incentive for you to not take a car because that is if you don't spend that money, it's not like you're budgeting with your money, right? It's not like if you don't take a car, you get to pocket that money and use it on something else,
right?
So it robs you of not just actual capital, right?
Right.
But also the ability to navigate like the subway system or plan. Like it lulls you into this false sense of like, it weakens you. It makes you soft, right? It's like
it absolutely made me soft, and
Yeah.
I feel it because I'm like. And even the last couple of days, so because I was taking so many Ubers when I was like, okay, and I'm like, well, all right, what can I do here now? And I'm going to Turks and Caicos this week. This is with a guy that I am just dating kind of just like a regular person that I just met out. He happens to have a lot of money because, the magical power of attraction.
We're all in the same situation.
Yeah.
We went to high school together and also made different choices, and maybe this could work out in a partnership way.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But it's like, he's someone who, like, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to see him. He's like, well, I'll send a car for you. Okay.
Yeah. So lovely.
So he's got
gentleman
that.
move.
No.
Yeah.
And so he, and he knows a little bit about my ex, who's now fully my ex, because so he knows that there was something going on because that I was able to take cars. He knows the gym membership thing,
right?
And that's already paid for in full for the rest of the year, so that's fine, which is cool. But so he kind of knows, and he's older and he's hip to it. So this may be a conversation that we have on vacation.
Yeah, I think that's a great place for these kinds of conversations.
Yep. When we're in Turks and Caicos, I'm just going to bring him and be like, okay, look, here's the deal. And then see what happens. And I'm not going to coerce him. I'm not going to force him into some kind of a sugar daddy relationship because that's not how I met him.
Right.
But I'm going to just let him know,
Yeah, you don't want to repeat the sins of that cunty girlfriend who's taking over, that dude's shit.
But it is a strange thing because, it weakens you because even the last couple of days, I found myself taking, because I had a discount. I hit the thing because I take so many Ubers that if you take a lot of cars, listen up, ladies and gentlemen, if you take a lot of cars, you get every like 2 or 3 weeks, I'll get a thing where it's like, all right, you get 50% off your rides for your next 10 rides are 50% off.
Yeah.
Like that's how VIP, that's how many rides I get. And so where I live now, there's a gym close. I mean, so I only took the train for the first time today.
Wow.
Because over the weekend and then I'm like, well, I guess I just won't do anything. I swear to God, I was like, I guess I'll just like stay in and then there was a snowstorm. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I took a car. It was like a $5. It was crazy. But no, I feel so weak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but so you can see how, so there's a good and the bad.
And this is how not just sex workers, right? But this is how abusive relationships of all stripes work.
Yes.
Right? Where from abusive employers, abusive boyfriends, abusive parents, abusive like this lulling of like, no, you can't do that by yourself. You need my help, or like you need this or you need that, or and I'm starting to feel it. Even, like I love Trey and his intentions are good, and I'm starting to feel this like honey pot drowning sensation of like, you're making it too comfortable for me here. I'm not doing enough spots. I'm not getting out in the world. It's too easy to play board games and watch Netflix and watch you cook for me, and I love your body and you make me come super hard. And also I'm starting to get that itchy feeling of like I have to go out and carve my own way and do the hard thing and be,
right.
It's all sticky and complicated.
It's really interesting because and we talk about when you start going, like when you start sex work, right?
Yep.
When you go into it, you're doing it because you're like, I'm desperate, and you're like, I need to survive, right?
Well,
you're not always desperate.
There are as many reasons to do sex work as there are people, right? But like, yes, financial necessity is a big umbrella that a lot of us are in.
Right.
That's when I came back to sex work. I started sex work initially because I was curious and bored and rebellious, but didn't want to do drugs because I was like, that's bad for me.
Right. Yeah. And to be fair, and I said the word desperate, to be fair, that's the same reason I've gotten every job I've ever had, is because I'm like, oh, wait a minute. If I just sit around, I don't have a place to live.
Death.
Yeah. So to be fair, I worked at a farmer's market out of desperation because I needed money. Yeah. And so, sex work happens to be a little bit more effective use of time and energy as far as Right. It makes more financial sense.
I've never been asked to clean up human feces as a sex worker. I know that there are bitches that specialize in that, and my hat's off to them. You brown shower girls are fucking unsung heroes.
Right.
But like, I had to clean up human poop when I was making $11 an hour at Starbucks. So it's not like,
right.
Yeah.
So that's most people. Most people, if you said, hey, look, you can either get up and go to a job every day, or you can just hang out at your on your couch and watch TV, and you'll still have a place to live, and like we'll just pay for you. Most people would choose to just like kick back. So let's be
slowly over time. The artist in me is screaming, right? Because even that is like, it's not that simple. It's not that clear cut, right? Because I do have time to write. I do have the ability to go to these classes. I do have the ability to record this podcast.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I don't know what's more oppressive, like this honeypot situation that's like too good for me to see straight, or the kind of financial desperation that makes me so exhausted and so worn down and so where I can't see straight. It's like, which path is the more effective fucking thing? It's like, I don't know the answer to that. Ugh.
I know it's a very interesting thing to be in, where you go like, oh, wait a minute. How like all the privilege weakens you.
Yep.
It's very,
and that's kind of one of the insidious tools of white supremacy, right? And I think that there's something like, one of the conversations that was like challenging to have is just acknowledging like my own racism, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like acknowledging like when you just get a bunch of privileged white girls in a room trying to strategize like how to make life better for sex workers, it's not the malicious kind of like, well, we got to make sure that we keep black people down. Like that's not one of the agenda items,
right?
But just not having people at the table that have experienced systemic racism firsthand makes it's like willfully hard to see. It's like the system is designed for you not to see it, not to think about it.
Right.
And so like coming to terms with your own racism, I think is kind of like the emotional process of realizing that the worst parts of your mom, right? Like live also in you.
Right.
Right.
When I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier with whether it's the people that are actively like working to pass these bills to and trafficking, and secretly just like criminalize all sex work, and any that they're doing that for lots of different reasons. Part of it is like, oh God, here, if I do this, then my wife will think I'm just really texting my brother all the time, you know? And like,
he's so needy.
Yeah.
Now he's divorced.
And exactly. And then even this chick, you know, that now that freaked out when she saw the Uber thing. It's like, but like you said earlier, you have to deal with your own shit.
Yeah, so and it's all fear-based.
Yeah. So if you deal with the deepest, darkest part of you, and everyone's trying to struggle and survive, and I think sex workers have more of a survival instinct, which is why it's so scary for us with something like, all of a sudden I have no Ubers, and I'm like, oh my God, I have been lulled into this thing where I can take a fucking suitcase with me, get in a car, go where I want, now it's gone, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta remember how to survive in the city.
Right.
Which I did, and I was like, I used to wake up and be on the train in work boots at 4:30 in the morning and take 3 transfers to go make juice for people. I took an hour and a half commute in the morning, and it was when I just moved here. So it's like, I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do it.
And that's I think the secret to getting out of all kinds of abusive relationships is knowing that you're capable of way more than you think you are. Right. And it's like, this is something my dad learned at war and has like communicated to me many times. He's like, the survival instinct will hopefully never have to kick in for you. Like, he worked his whole life to make sure that, like, my father's crowning achievement in terms of social mobility is that he raised a spoiled cunt daughter. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, his crowning achievement for all the wars and all the abuse and all the stuff is he got to spoil the fuck out of me. Mission fucking accomplished. He's like, I want you to have choices. I was like, well, I choose to have sex for money and mouth off about it into microphones. So that's what freedom looks like, papa. Whatever. But it's like that. But we watch war movies all the time and like hang out and like it's a lot of war porn. But there are many, many situations where he's like, you don't know what you're capable of until you know. Right. And like, just like, I was going to give advice, and then I realized that I'm like way out of my depth.
Well, no, but you can't like, but I even for me, like, there'd be times where I've been so tired, and I think, and not all, but just the physical labor aspect of it. When I've worked where you're in a situation and I've worked like like 80 hours a week at jobs.
Yeah.
And you're sleeping like 4 hours a day.
Yeah, you lose your mind. You
And-
get dumber.
Right.
Your ability to solve problems deteriorates.
Right. And even the physical labor, like,
Oh,
and
man.
like physically, like if, and the, they all the stories, but the adrenaline kicks in and moms can lift cars and shit like that. But like, that's real. And so, and I know that that's there. And just to have it taken away is like real crazy. But to go back to what you're saying, because I know I want to get back to the SASS thing, because I think this is super interesting. Because where you talk about, and I kind of got into it on the other podcast that I did with a couple of guys. With all the Me Too stuff and all this movement, there is a group going around, and and it's his name is Brian Stacy. He's a very sweet guy. We maybe can have him on he works with a lot of sex workers, so we can talk. Now, he's great. He started something called it's a men's group, but it's a bunch of men getting around talking about, look at what can we do to like with the Me Too movement, and essentially the conversation is like, so how do we like help women, but like also keep our like masculinity intact? And my brain almost shot out of my face. I'm like, wait, so who's there? And it's just like a bunch of dudes. It's a bunch of dudes essentially being like, look, we're still like trying to fuck this bitch, but also like, how do we let her know
but
that
like
we
in a
like
less rapey way? How do we dial down the raping? If we really think, I mean, everyone gathered together here knows to not bring a gun on a date. Like, we're not monsters,
right?
But
how do I get her to give up that sweet puss?
This is hard.
And also let her know I think she can read and shit. So like, but that to me, I remember I'm like, well, so who is there? And they're telling, and I just was like, this is the most privileged cis white male.
Sure.
Like I can't.
And like, we hear that criticism, and I think it's a fair criticism of this podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of like, yeah, you and I are both super privileged, cis white ladies,
right,
talking about a bunch of different stuff.
Right.
Right. And it's, like, how do you mitigate that? How do you broaden your awareness? How do you, like, what's the solution? Right. I don't think the solution is to stop podcasting, right? Because that seems wrong and dumb, right? But I think that raising our awareness of like, hey, there are blind spots here, and just because we don't see them doesn't mean that they don't exist or that they don't matter.
Right. And that's why we talked about, and that's where we're like bringing guests in. We're gonna have Cayenne, and so we're gonna start doing that because that'll be better. And so we are listening to the listeners, and we are doing that. But that's the same thing like you're saying with SASS, where if you have a bunch of white women on the panel talking about what to do about a culture of sex work, and to not pretend, and in theory you can be like, nope, sex work is all under big one red umbrella, and then it's like, okay, but what about the trans black woman sucking dick? I'm not trying to be. I mean, I'm like,
get it.
Do you know, like outside
street-based survival sex work,
right? And what about that? You're gonna tell me that some bitch that's living in some apartment on the Upper West Side with a Birkin bag that she got from
sucking dick,
but just doing it in a place with a nice view.
Yep,
is really gonna be like, oh no, we're sisters. I feel like we're the same.
Right.
Get out of my pussy.
Right. So the barriers to organizing here are the same barriers to organizing that have always been true, right? It's like people from different places with different contexts have a hard time like fucking socializing and like considering each other as part of one big pot. So some of the things that, I mean, there was this badass organizer that I met in Seattle that talks about the limitations of the decriminalized movement, right? Is like, it feels like what white cis sex workers are fighting for, this anti-stigma thing and this like decriminalization thing, is sort of like what the LGBT community was fighting for just gay marriage, where it's like everyone got gay marriage and then everyone went home. And it's like, no, people are still discriminating against trans people, against gay people. It's like, just because white property owning gay dudes can like marry and get all of the tax benefits of that doesn't mean that this like fight for gay liberation is over.
Right.
And so the question that I think the sex worker rights community has to ask themselves is, what are we actually fighting for, and how can we include everyone on that, right? Because it's not just decriminalization. We do want to move towards a future where nobody is doing sex work that feels coerced into doing that, whether through violence or through economic desperation, right? We do want to work towards a future where no one's discriminated against based on the color of their skin, right? And what that looks like within sex work of like different prices for different races. It's so explicit in our community.
That is disgusting.
It is disgusting,
and
but
I didn't realize that but I've learned about it on the show, just like the rest of you listening.
Yeah, we're all learning together.
But but isn't that's to have different, and even like back in the old school, there was like different brothels for different races.
Yeah.
See, I'm riled up because I took the train, so I'm back in with the people. I'm back to old school.
You're rubbing
Wendi.
elbows with real people.
I mean, come
that veneer of fucking.
Do you know what I do? It's interesting because even just today, like, because I was like, I woke up because normally I can sleep in till the last second. Because when you're taking a car and you're getting food delivered to wherever you're going, you're sleeping your ass in as long as you can.
Yeah, you do not have to think about all the things that you have to think about.
Yeah, and I woke up and I'm like in it to win it, and because we're stacking podcasts, so this is my like fucking 4th hour of trying to talk into a microphone while sitting in a chair.
Speaking of privilege and not having to think about things, I was in a bathrobe until 20 minutes before you got here, and I was like, let me run out and get coffee just so I feel like a person.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was, and I gotta say, as much as it is, and don't get me wrong, if someone wants to listen to this podcast, if there's a benefactor that wants to hook me up with a credit card for my
Give me
Uber,
those golden handcuffs.
I'm into it. Okay, I'm into it, but I was like, oh, I forgot. This is why it was almost like impossible to keep weight on when I first moved here. I run up 3 flights of stairs and I'm packing all my shit like I'm getting in a car. But so I feel I'm on top of things. I had a mango, my blood sugar's through the roof.
Yep.
But as far as like you were talking about the organization, and so now what is the consensus like as far as sex workers as a group? What's the plan to start like organizing?
Right.
Is there kind of a game plan?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and then the other thing to realize is that the stuff that's holding back sex worker activists are like the same shit that's been holding back like every activist, which is that like we are also people, and people are flawed, and people have egos, and people like let personal shit get in the way. I mean, like I was listening to 2 activists talk shit about another activist, and they like won't share email lists because somebody didn't invite somebody else to like their birthday party or something. I mean, like it like all the things where you're running a show as a comedian, and all of like the dumb ego shit that can get in the way. It's like those same things plague organizers also. Right. And this like, but I think that this infighting period that we're going through, right, especially along lines of like race and class and geography and like what do we do about migrants that don't have papers, like how do we create systems that help everyone without leaving everyone behind, is really important to establish now, because we see this big fight moving forward, right? It's like this bill's gonna pass. So please call your senator, please like let them know that there are constituents that are looking at this. And also we've run the numbers. We have like 12 hours. It's going to pass. Right. And so how are we going to move forward and fight this as a united front? We have to have these hard conversations amongst ourselves now. Right. I think the answer is spending more time with people that are different from you. Okay. And like, there's a great book for white ladies called So You Want to Talk About Race? I'm going to
that's a hilarious title.
It's a great book.
No, and that's the thing. So yeah, you obviously spend time with people from other race. But what's interesting with the infighting, it's so crazy because it's like, I think, and it sucks, but it's almost a good thing to have this wall of people coming at sex workers.
Yes.
Because I think it's a wake up call.
Yes.
Because if you think they're not coming for seeking arrangements, you are wrong, motherfucker.
Right, absolutely. This is that first they came for the communists, and I said nothing because I was not a communist. And then they came for the black people, and I said nothing because I was not a black person. And then they came for the Jew. And like it's, I don't know who that guy, I mean, was that Eli? I don't remember the guy's name. Yeah. But it's that fucking shit. It's like, first they came for the transgendered streetwalkers, and I didn't say anything because as an uppity white bitch myself, I was like, no, the neighborhood. And then they came for that, and it's like, bitch, they are coming for you. Right. And if you don't think they're coming for housewives, if you don't think they're like this going after sex workers thing, historically, right? Like, how many times have we told this story? Yeah, it starts with sex workers, right? And it's all about moving towards a future where you limit the freedom of expression and freedom of movement of women. Yeah, because they end up self-censoring for fear. Yes, right, of being mislabeled a whore. Yep. They don't like. Yeah. No, this is fucking shitty. I mean, well, I don't remember what episode it was, but those bitches got pulled off a plane Thanksgiving Day because their skirts were too short.
Yes.
It's already happening.
Yeah. And their skirts were too short. And yep, they were like, oh, they thought they were sex workers going to work. It's like,
I'm a huge fan of this woman. I read her writing all the time, and I have never
don't know how to pronounce
her name. Oh, by the way, the last episode we did, it's Anise. That's how you pronounce it.
It is Anise. So you were right the first time.
It's Anise. I was right the first time. I mispronounced it the whole rest of the show. Thank
now
you.
let's
Got an
see
email
if
about
I can,
that.
Oh God, this is what is this?
She's amazing.
What's it? Igiomo
Alu? Igiomo Alu?
I don't know.
She's fantastic. I love her writing. And I've
correct us on the pronunciation on that,
please.
But that's called. So you want to talk about race?
Yeah. So you want to talk about
Bitches.
race? It's a great book. The rest of her writing is really great too. You should look her up online. But I think it's really Angela Davis is another fantastic writer to seek out. Her book, Race, Class, and Feminism, I think, is the book.
We'll look it up and we'll put the links in the bottom of the show notes.
But anyway, go out, educate yourself because the resources are right fucking there. And then, genuinely, if you are in activist circles, I think it's really important to expand the people that you make eye contact with, break bread with, laugh with, get drunk with, hang out with.
Right.
Make sure that you're talking and hanging out with people that look and sound different from you, that have different experiences from you, so that you can. I know that Hillary Clinton lost, and that we really are stronger together. Yeah. And this is a link arms moment, I think, for sex workers generally. I think that white people generally and white women specifically within this movement have to get used to not being centered. Right. Not being the focal point.
Yep.
Basically.
We got to look at, and what we're going to start doing, and by we, I mean I am, because I've been looking at on the Instagram for the show, and Jack the Stripper, Lola Devine, there's so many great people.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't have the time, and especially now that I'm on the train, I'll have less reception. But what I'm going to start and go on the Twitter, because I know Kaytlin's good about reposting that, but we're just going to start kind of putting, so if you don't know these people and these resources, that's another thing.
Follow us on Twitter. We're going to be retweeting a lot.
On Instagram. So we're going to repost these groups, these people that you should follow, because not only is it important to spend time with other people, but also just to build, because the more we can use technology to our advantage.
Yep.
And just to have just points of points of reference, and if there's some kind of an event or a march or a talk or something happening in your neighborhood, we need to start communicating with each other.
Speaking of, happy International Women's Day.
Oh yeah, happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you.
I almost didn't say international.
International
Women's Day.
I missed this, so I'm new to sex worker activism. I know a couple of dates. I know December 17th is the day. December 18th is the day that we mourn our dead.
I know. See, now I'm insensitive and I say Dead Hooker Day.
Dead Hooker Day.
I just love the word hooker.
I was actually there. So we were spending some time hanging out with activists. Is a real change of pace for me as a comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially coming from this anti-PC culture. I mean, I came from Race Wars and Legion of Skanks, and I've done Anthony Cumia's podcast. I've sat down with rapists and racists for my whole career, just being this is fine, brushing shit off.
Yeah.
But so we were sitting around, there's this anti-trafficking organization that has made a call for essay submissions on how prostitutes impact the environment. And so we sat down to write a satirical essay, and I was coming up with a bunch of dead hooker jokes, obviously we want to force prostitutes off the internet and onto the street because when hookers die, they end up not using condoms and they instead compost the earth to build gardens.
That was my first one. I was fertilizer, baby. Next question.
Right,
boom. Essay. I'll do this in 2 words. I'll give you 2-word answer.
And my activist friends were we really just want to stay away from all the dead hooker jokes. And then my freedom of speech uppityness got in there, and I was I am a freedom of speech purist, and I believe in saying whatever you want in the context. And they were but this is not that context. I was oh, that's fair and reasonable. So,
right. Well, but then there's a different thing too, and especially I think you and I both do the thing where you just inject humor into everything. And that's the way to deal with it. But I think the other thing too, and not to sound shitty, because I understand if they're we don't want the dead hooker jokes, but can you imagine? Because other people on the outside, that would be a joke they would make. But so can you imagine if like our people, the sex workers, are making that joke? Like obviously
it's way better for us.
And now all of a sudden we're in the game because now you're having a conversation because it's like, I already made that joke, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here to talk business. I'm not sensitive. I get it. I can make a joke too.
And I think that we need bridges, right? So like sex worker activists and like, this is one of the things where I always want to be at an arm's length. I'm like, I used to be an activist.
Yeah.
And I am still susceptible to that drug, right? Righteousness is a hell of a drug. I love it.
Yeah, but you and I have been doing this podcast long enough that we're a couple of assholes in a pod.
We really walk that line. And I'm like, but I am a comic first, right? Mm-hmm. And so like I hate bitches that are like, rape jokes aren't feminist. I'm like, I know a lot of feminist comics making fantastic rape jokes. Right. You cannot tell us what to say. This blanket shit doesn't work for me, but it might work for you and your organization. We might have different goals, and that's okay.
Right.
Right. But this bridging, right? So like, I want to take the sex worker experience, sex worker perspective into this male-dominated comedian world.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I need more armor, and I'm not going to make it anywhere if I'm like joke policing my male peers. That's like not the way to do that. I want to read you just two of these jokes because I think they're funny. Right. This is from a satirical essay answering the question, what is the environmental impact of prostitution?
Okay.
Prostitutes, unlike your average slut, use more than their fair share of literally everything. Studies using math show us that the average prostitute sleeps with 60-year-olds a day. Do you have any idea how many condoms that is? At least 40. Condoms are trash. And everyone knows that the first rule of environmentalism is to not litter. And even the air that prostitutes breathe is polluted, not by the cars that they take, but by their thoughts. All right. The filth in their minds pollutes the air around them, and everything that a prostitute touches turns to trash or salt, depending. Both are bad for gardens. That end of case.
That's great. I love that you wrote that. That's phenomenal.
Right? Yeah. We're having fun with that. I don't think that they're gonna take.
Oh, you don't
that.
think they're gonna put that in the newsletter?
I don't think they're gonna put that in the newsletter. No, but I'm glad that we had that thought experiment. It was real fucking fun.
Holy shit!
Oh man.
See, now I would say the opposite because I mean, I think can be good for the environment because we're just living off of other people.
Yeah. Right. No. Absolutely. We're reducing.
You can do one of the two. We're reducing
our footprint.
Right.
By not having jobs.
Right.
But,
exactly.
Yeah. No, but it is fucking work. You know what? Actually, it is. I feel like prostitutes historically. And we got this in the Ishtar episode, and we talked about this when you look at like story of not Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh. Yeah, Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Right, the oldest story in the
that's
Western
like the number one.
Gilgamesh is the one of Ishtar's prostitutes goes to the warrior and like lubricates his way back into society, right? By not just fucking the rage out of him, but also teaching him like table manners and like how to take a shower and like how not to be a reactive asshole, right? Because remember when we were talking about Doc Holliday and how like the alcoholism and the tuberculosis progressed, and so he would just shoot people who like bumped into him wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think it was women like Big Nose Kate. It is prostitutes that like stand in the way of dudes like that as like kind of a buffer and are like, no, bro, you can't just do that. We've been kind of a thousands and thousands and thousands of year check on the worst elements of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
We couldn't prevent nuclear bombs from being built, but like we can help kind of do the emotional labor a little bit.
We can give you I'll give you something else to do with your fingers besides pressing that button.
Right?
Huh?
Yes.
Get over here. I got a red button for you to press.
Oh man, baby. There
is
so much happening.
So listen, you want to wrap this up? Because we're going to do.
Absolutely. We can wrap this up. Please call your senator. This show should come out on March 11th. And it looks like Monday, March 12th is when the Senate is going to be voting to overwhelmingly pass this dumb law. Please call your senator. Tell your friends about it, whether they're libertarians or bleeding heart communists. Every thinking person should be against this dumb bill.
Yeah. And hang out with someone that does not look like you or act like you. Have a different experience. Pick up a book. Follow us on social media. We're going to be reposting that. It's The Oldest Profession. And that's on Twitter and
Well, it's Old Pro Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Thank you.
Email us at theoldestprofessionpodcast@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And then our website is theoldestprofessionpodcast.com.
Yep.
Send us your thoughts.
Email us. You can follow me on social media at Wendi Starling, on Twitter at WendyBird82, on Instagram.
And I'm at Kaytlin Bailey, spelled wrong and dumb. And thank you so much for listening. This has been
The Oldest Profession.
This episode is sponsored by Velvet Swing, which is a cannabis-enhanced lube that is very nice.
Ooh.
You should follow the founder. This is a whore-owned and operated business.
Okay.
Mistress Matisse on Twitter. So buying this product supports not just your own sex life, but also the sex worker rights movement. Mistress Matisse is a big deal.
Thank you, Mistress.
Yes, you can follow Mistress Matisse at Mistress, Mistressen, Matisse, Matisse.
Yeah, you know why we feel so good? Because while you were in the kitchen about 10 minutes ago before we recorded this, I took the cannabis lube and I jammed it in my butthole. I'll tell you, not the thing.
How do you feel?
Amazing.
Right? You feel relaxed?
I feel my butthole feels great.
Your butthole feels
Oh my
relaxed?
God, I didn't even think about this. This would be great for anal.
Of course. Yeah, you can't overestimate the importance of a relaxed butthole.
I love anal already. I'm going to be squirting all over the wall if I put some... Okay, now I do want to wrap this because I want to go get fucked.
Velvet Swing, so you can get high while getting down.